You might be wondering how I got here. In today's video, we're going to answer that question, and it all starts here at the Mithras base camp in Gray Zone Warfare, where I'm venturing out into the unknown, exploring the Blue Lagoon for the very first time. I equipped myself with a Glock 17 with a compensator and a Vortex red dot, as well as an M4 with a URGI upper, an RC1 suppressor, a Geisley charging handle, and an Elcan 1-4 magnified optic. We jump on the MH6 Little Bird, going off on a brand new adventure from the Mithras base camp with a destination of Blue Lagoon. But because I didn't have any HLZs near Blue Lagoon, I decided to infill west of Banpa and then move on foot, circumnavigating the ever dangerous Tiger Bay in order to collect the HLZs along the way, first in the north, then in the west, and then one more just south of Tiger Bay, which is infested with enemy activity, before finally moving south to the Blue Lagoon, where I could get an HLZ just to the west of the objective area so that I could get inside and complete my very first task there, which required me to collect some intelligence in the form of a journal. We infill just to the west of Banpa and move out on foot, loaded down with a ton of ammunition and a ton of sustainment, very much doing a real-world sort of long-range reconnaissance patrol style operation. We infill through the woods, enjoying the incredible terrain in Gray Zone Warfare in this awesome environment and scenery afforded by the Unreal 5 engine before discovering our very first HLZ north of Tiger Bay. And all this foot movement took me something like, 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. It was about 5 to 7 kilometers on foot in the way that I was traveling. And as we moved around Tiger Bay, I was able to take out that Elcan and look in and actually see some enemy activity operating on the perimeter of the city, but very much not interested in going into that city itself and getting in a giant gunfight by myself with this pretty mid-tier gear that I was also not very eager to lose. We continued moving south along the spur of this hill mass, and as I approached this linear danger area, I did a short halt and scanned the bridge, only to see a couple of enemy sentries active at the checkpoint at the bottom of the hill. I decided to creep in just a little bit closer and silence the sentries so that I could navigate across the MSR and continue moving to the south in order to get all the way down to Blue Lagoon and complete our objective. This was about 300 meters out, and I decided to zoom in with the Elcan and take a nice shot. Suppressed, one tap, cerebral spinal column, and that one sentry falls silent. We pick up, make sure there's no other sentries active in the area, and then continue our movement on foot to the south. As we move to the south, we start to encounter some sustainment challenges. I brought a ton of food and water on this dismounted foot patrol, and it was very much needed because we were moving so far and it was extremely time consuming, especially because I was taking my time and trying to do it right, trying to maintain security throughout and being very cautious. I didn't want to take more than one trip to accomplish this task. Next, we move north across this water feature, had to cross a little creek to get close enough to this next HLZ in order to unlock it. It seems that you can unlock HLZs at about 200 meters away or so. As you get close enough, you get a little bit of an experience. You also access that HLZ so you can quick travel there in the future. And HLZ number 2 at this point is discovered. Now I'm pretty close to Tiger Bay. There's some outlying villages or outlying points of interest and some farm plots on the periphery of Tiger Bay, and I'm very wary of them, but I do circumnavigate right along this water feature, just using it as a handrail, and managed to get Juliet 3, the southernmost HLZ in vicinity of Tiger Bay, on my infill route, before then finally moving south towards Blue Lagoon in the western HLZ that I'll be using to access Blue Lagoon for the very first time. We're back in some of the thicker vegetation as we approach a linear danger area and have to cross it very quickly before finally discovering the HLZ nearest Blue Lagoon and then transitioning into kind of our prep MIM weapons and equipment and move from the ORP to the objective area to conduct our one-man infiltration of Blue Lagoon. I decided to pick this place apart pretty deliberately, taking some precision shots at range. First time I've ever been here. Managed to knock out 2 guards on the way in. I did kill 1 third guard further to the north on the way in. And then I heard this other helicopter coming in. And he decides to stir up a hornet's nest. And, my deliberate and silent clearance got loud in a hurry.
Clear or no, bro? No, to our south it is not clear. Everything to the
Okay.
north is clear.
Okay,
I only
okay,
killed 3 on the way in, and most of them were on the north side.
okay. Let's go.
So trusting my brother here to guide me in and keep me safe, I accompany him on our assault. But it turns out the enemy in Blue Lagoon are not playing any games.
Walk of shame.
It's clear, bro. It's clear.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you. It's clear, bro. It's clear. It's clear, bro. Are you fucking...
So having died twice already in Blue Lagoon on my initial attempt at accomplishing the very first task, I am now extremely wary of Blue Lagoon. The AI there seemed to be freaking cracked. I'm getting one tapped at 180 degrees from 100 meters plus out, and I'm pretty frustrated. I decided to use a new approach for the second task, which asks me to kill no fewer than 20 enemy at Blue Lagoon. We swap our 14.5-inch M4 for a 10.3-inch Daniel Defense Mark 18 and an R700, Remington 700 with a suppressor and a Vortex PST 1 to 15, I think it is. And we infill with the shorty, and the bolt gun decide to do a solo sniper sort of approach using the hill mass just to the west, or excuse me, just to the east of Blue Lagoon as a firing position. Do a little dismounted reconnaissance to get close to the objective, find some good final firing positions, and tag dudes at range with the goal of thinning their ranks rather than having to assault all the way through the center of the village. Stalk up extremely deliberately with the shorty out in case we make chance contact with any enemy patrols on approach. Once I start to identify these structures, I swap over to the Remington 700, and I'm looking for opportunities to take some precision rifle shots. Sure enough, I do identify the very first sentry, make sure my gun is zeroed, and fire. First enemy's down, then I start looking for his buddies. We do indeed see some more enemy in the open. These shots are mostly 200, 250 meters away, taking them without any issue whatsoever with the 7.62 bolt gun. However, I do start to hear some enemy voices patrolling out to where they suspect my firing position to be, and I try to creep away very quietly. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite as sneaky as I wanted to be. We tagged up one patrol who was standing right on top of our final firing position from the previous engagement, swap over to the shorty, and then break contact before creeping back in with the bolt gun and continuing our assault. I got into something of a rhythm where I would creep in, take a few shots, reposition, and then take a few more shots, and I would always keep my ears and my eyes open for enemy patrols that were pushing to my last known firing position. That's exactly what happened here. I spotted this guy on the move, heading to my last known firing position, took a pot shot at him, don't even know if I dropped him, but then started getting engaged. When I was compromised, I did break contact. I move 100 to 150 meters away from the contact, find some hard cover, let things calm down, and then infiltrate back in. In this case, I was low on hydration and on energy, so I took a swig of water, also grabbed a bite to eat, and then creeped back in very deliberately with the shorty out, just in case those guys were still in the wood line. We did manage to arrive to another final firing position and swap back to the bolt gun and started looking for additional targets. I found this one sentry on patrol obscured in some vegetation and waited for the perfect shot. Now there was a patrol that managed to get on my flank. One was on the high ground and I couldn't find his buddy. So I knock out the dude on the high ground, swapped to the shorty, got engaged immediately, relatively effective suppressing fire from his partner. I put a few rounds on him and then break contact away from the contact, looking for some micro terrain or some hard cover that I could get behind. Managed to find this boulder, proned out just behind it. It seems to be effective at protecting me for the 45 seconds or so that I hid behind it. Then I took that shorty and I started creeping back up towards where the contact came from, hunting in the vegetation and listening for where that one lone survivor might be hiding. I saw something moving in the bushes, went ahead and put 10 or 12 rounds into it, and then creeped up to confirm the kill. Indeed, it was the other member of that two-man patrol. Thinking I'm relatively clear again, I decide to take the bolt gun back out and creep once again into another firing position to see if I can identify any additional enemy sentries active in the Blue Lagoon, as we are now creeping up on that 20 kill count required to complete the task. I find one guy just beyond my reach, right on the edge of this water feature with some vegetation obstructing my view. Managed to get a clear shot, tag him at about 225 yards, and then start scanning for additional targets before things get a little bit hairy. My left side gets completely shredded. I managed to stop a bunch of rounds in the plate with my forward-facing front plate, and we managed to bandage ourselves up and get off of the X. The only reason I survived that is because I was in cover bandaging myself. I actually heard the last round fire out of that AK. I knew he was reloading, and I knew my only shot to survive was to push him at that moment, get the kill, and then move to cover. We finally found some hard cover about 50 meters away, get behind a tree trunk, take some painkillers, try to grab a bite to eat and a swig of water because our hydration and our energy are both extremely low. But my ears are still open, and that is when I hear this. The second member of that patrol pushes towards me. I get eyes on him at about 25 yards, tag him up in the woodline. That happened to be my very last kill required for this task, and we moved to the exfil and asked the bird to come and pick us up. Gray Zone Warfare continues to amaze me. It has me totally enthralled and engaged. I am loving this game, and what's crazy is as unique as this mission was, and as much fun as I had doing it, it's not at all uncommon or rare in Gray Zone Warfare, and these kind of experiences seem to be the norm when I go out on my own or with my buddies to play an extremely immersive tactical shooter in this massive open world. I'm having such a blast playing this game. I'll certainly continue to feature it on the channel, and I hope that you guys are also enjoying it. If you are, if you want to see more content just like this or other hardcore tactical shooters and military strategy games, I'd invite you to subscribe to the channel. I am Controlled Pairs. This has been Gray Zone Warfare, and I'll see you in the next one.